So one of the most significant parasitic protozoans include Plasmodium. It causes malaria. Plasmodium is a parasite that completes part of its life cycle in man, and here you can see the pink circle that represents the mosquito. Another part of its life cycle is completed in the mosquito. Remember, the asexual cycle happens in man and the sexual cycle happens in the mosquito. So which is the mosquito here which acts as a vector for the transmission of Plasmodium? It is the female Anopheles mosquito. So let us see what happens when an infected female Anopheles mosquito bites a healthy man. You can see these infective stages. These are injected or they are inoculated into the bloodstream of a healthy human. What are these parasites called? These parasites are called the sporozoids. So the sporozoids are the infective stages which are present in the salivary gland of an infected mosquito, and when such a mosquito bites a healthy human, it is going to inoculate it into the bloodstream. Where do these sporozoids migrate now? They migrate to the first organ, their first destination, which is the liver. In the liver, as you can see, the sporozoids will start attacking the liver cells. They will undergo a sexual cycle and they will produce many hundreds and hundreds of daughter cells which come out by the bursting of the liver cell. See, the liver cell bursts open and these daughter parasites come out, and these daughter parasites are a product of a sexual cycle of the sporozoids which entered into or which infected the liver cells. We call these daughter cells, actually the first generation daughter cells are called cryptomerozoites. So to be very precise, the first generation are referred to as the cryptomerozoites. Okay. So notice how these daughter cells are moving in, and after several generations of multiplying in the liver, you can see how these daughter parasites are now attacking the RBC. So they enter the RBC. Now this spherical cell that is shown over here is the RBC, and this tiny structure that is penetrating into the RBC is the cryptomerozoite which has come from the liver. And once inside the RBC, notice how in the RBC also it undergoes a cycle of asexual reproduction which is called the schizogony to produce another set of daughter parasites. The daughter parasites come out by the bursting of the RBC. Notice here that the RBCs are bursting. So bursting of the RBC or rupturing of the RBC is a very important property of the malarial parasite, and that's why it causes severe anemia and weakness, because lot of RBCs get destroyed due to the multiplication of this parasite. So what do we call these daughter parasites which emerge from the rupturing RBCs? We refer to them as the merozoites. Obviously, as you can expect, the merozoites are going to infect more and more fresh RBCs. So they find newer and newer RBCs to attack, and once again they take part in the same asexual cycle to again produce hundreds and hundreds of these daughter parasites, isn't it? Now imagine they are multiplying, they are coming out, they are bursting RBCs, they are attacking new RBCs, again generating daughter parasites. So after several such cycles of asexual reproduction, they also get tired. So just for our convenience, I'm saying it. Let us imagine that they're dividing and multiplying and they're tired. Now what happens is, once they enter into the RBC, they no longer divide but they transform into these sexual stages. These sexual stages that you can see sitting inside the RBC are called the gametocyte. So remember, after undergoing several rounds of asexual cycle within the RBCs, I told you a parasite enters the RBC, multiplies, bursts the RBC, comes out, again attacks a new RBC. So how long will it do this? It keeps doing it, and then ultimately it is tired, and now it enters the RBC. The parasite enters the RBC, but it decides, okay, I am not going to divide now, I am tired of dividing, so let me transform into the sexual stages, and the sexual stages are referred to as the gametocytes. We can identify two types of gametocytes, or the sexual stages, sitting inside the RBC of a malarial patient. One is a male gametocyte and one is a female gametocyte. It is up to here that the development happens within the infected male. Now what happens? Let us imagine that a mosquito bites such an infected person. So when the mosquito bites and when it consumes the blood meal, along with the blood meal, these gametocytes are also swallowed or ingested by the mosquito. So remember, I'm writing on this arrow. It's already written below, but I'm writing it here to make it clear to you. Blood meal. So the mosquito is feeding on the infected person's blood, and while it consumes the blood meal, these sexual stages called gametocytes also move in to the body of the mosquito, and they reach the gut of the mosquito. This dotted structure that you can see here, that is shown in blue dotted lines, is the gut or the stomach of the mosquito. What happens to these gametocytes here? Notice that the male gametocytes transform into these elongated structures, filamentous structures, which are nothing but the male gametes. So here in the male it was just a gametocyte, in the man it was a gametocyte, but now the moment it has entered into the stomach of the mosquito, the male gametocyte becomes the male gamete. And what happens to the female gametocyte? The female gametocyte, notice here, it has become a rounded cell, which is now referred to as the female gamete. Now what can you expect? Fertilization. The male and the female gamete will undergo fertilization to form a zygote. See the zygote here. The zygote is initially spherical and non-motile, then slowly it becomes vermiform and it starts wriggling like a worm. This motile zygote is referred to as a eukinete. Kinetic means movement. So eukinete means it is a zygote that is exhibiting some kind of a wriggly movement like a worm. Why should the zygote move? Because the zygote wants to bore into the wall of the stomach of the mosquito. See here, it is boring into the wall of the stomach of the mosquito. It comes to lie just outside the wall of the stomach, and it transforms into a structure with a very thick wall around itself, and now it is referred to as the oocyst. So what happened to the zygote? The zygote became motile. What do you call the motile zygote? We call it as the eukinete. The eukinete burrowed itself. It bored into the wall of the gut, and it came to lie just outside the stomach, and there it developed a protective wall around itself to become what? To become the oocyst. Now the parasite or the zygote which is sitting inside the oocyst will now again undergo multiple fission to produce what? To produce numerous daughter parasites, which are now referred to as the sporozoites. Notice how the oocyst is breaking open, and these daughter parasites or sporozoites are swimming in the blood of the mosquito, and they're reaching their ultimate destination, that is the salivary glands of the mosquito. Why should they reach the salivary glands? Because when such a mosquito bites a healthy man, what is going to happen? These sporozoites or the spindle-like parasites are going to make their way through the saliva of the mosquito all the way into the bloodstream of the healthy person, and the same cycle repeats all over again. So important thing you should remember here is, within the mosquito it is the sexual phase that happens. Like I told you, the gametocytes transform into the gametes. They fuse to form a zygote. The zygote, which is motile, is called eukinete. The eukinete forms an oocyst on the outer wall of the gut, and within the oocyst asexual reproduction or multiple fission takes place to produce daughter parasites called sporozoites. Do the sporozoites remain in the gut? No. The oocyst will break open and the sporozoites will swim in the blood of the mosquito, the hemolymph of the mosquito, and they will reach the salivary glands of the mosquito. So here it is labeled for you. The salivary, this green pouch is the salivary gland. Once the sporozoite reaches the salivary gland, now when such a mosquito, which is an infected female Anopheles mosquito, which has sporozoites in its saliva, in its salivary gland, when it bites a healthy man, these sporozoites will make their way into the bloodstream of the healthy man and thus infect the man with malaria, cause malaria in the person.